Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Chris Matthews, your relationship coach and licensed marriage and family therapist. And in this video, we are going to talk about the 11 signs and symptoms substance abuse professionals and counselors use to diagnose or determine if a person has an issue with alcohol. Hi, I'm glad you tuned into this video today. The goal is to present you guys out there with 11 signs and symptoms that substance abuse counselors use to determine if a client has an alcohol use disorder or a substance use issue. Before I go any further, I want to let you guys know I'm a licensed clinical addiction specialist, which means that I have extensive training in working with clients who present issues with substances. I also am a DWI assessor who does treatment for clients that are court mandated to take care of services due to a driving while impaired infraction. I'm also a Department of Transportation substance abuse professional. So I work a lot in the industry of public safety, ensuring that the roadways are safe when it comes to people not driving under the influence. And I take that very personal because I don't want anybody on the roads that could jeopardize the life of my family, themselves, or your family. So this is really about not judging someone saying you're bad or good. It's about keeping everybody safe. And because at the time of this video, we're on the tail end of a pandemic and people were in quarantine for over a year, and a lot of the research shows alcohol use has risen because people tend to lean on substances to cope. So I just wanted to put that out there. The goal of the video is to give you guys some ideas of different things to be aware of. And if you find that within the past 12 months, the things on this list are existing in your life or someone you know, then it would be time to communicate with. You can go through your primary care physician for a referral. You can use Google searches. There are a lot of amazing treatment facilities out. And in part 2 of the next video, I'm going to go into what the levels of care look like. But in this video, we're just going to focus on signs and symptoms. So let's jump right into it. Symptom or sign number 1. If you find yourself in a position where you've consumed alcohol for a longer period than you intended, or you consumed more than you intended. So for example, let's say you're at a party or a social outing and your goal is just to mingle and you plan on having 1 glass of wine and that 1 glass turned into 5 glasses. Or you're at a game watching football or a sporting event and the 1 beer turned into 10 beers. When you don't have the intent to consume a lot and you look up and there's been more drinking than intended, that could be a sign. And it's not just an isolated event. We're talking about reoccurring behaviors where you were at a party one weekend, you said you were only going to drink 2, you drink 10. You went to a friend's house the next weekend, you said you were going to drink 1 because you were driving, you drink 5. So if you find yourself continuously breaking your own rules or consuming more than you intended, then that may be a time to look at getting some help. The second sign, you are in a position where you attempted to stop or reduce your usage and you weren't able to do that. So I take stopping as not doing the behavior again. So if a person says, I stopped drinking, and they post everything on Facebook, I stopped drinking, and then the next day you see them at the club drinking, and then that's a continued behavior. They're stopping and faulting on not keeping their word to their self. So similar to the first sign or symptom, but this could also go a little bit deeper when a person gets professional help, and we call it a relapse, or you go back to those behaviors and you find yourself unable to not consume. The third sign or symptom is going to be spending a lot of time drinking or being sick or trying to recover from the after effects of drinking. So what is a lot of time? A lot of time can look like the integration of alcohol into your life with all social events. 2 summers ago, I took the family to Disney World. And out of all the places, I never thought Disney World would have so many alcohol vendors, right? So it was fascinating to me because it was a lot of time people spent at those, alcohol vendors. And I'm not judging if a person consumes, but if you have to plan alcohol into your social experiences, meaning you can't enjoy the social time with family or friends without alcohol, at that point you might start to think of it as a dependence, meaning you have to rely on alcohol just to be yourself or to enjoy your time with your family. Or if a social event has to be the reason for the social event is to drink, then at that point you're spending a lot of time and thought. And then if you find yourself having a routine, I was doing an assessment with a client, and his routine was on Friday night, he called it getting hammered, meaning he would black out drink. He would get drunk to the point where he blacks out. So he would get hammered on Friday, get hammered on Saturday, use the entire day Sunday to recuperate from all the drinking he did Friday and Saturday. So you mean to tell me that alcohol was so important that you're willing to give one day of your entire week, right? 24 hours out of your entire week to heal from the drinking Saturday and Friday so you can go to work Monday. Think about that. That's 52 days a year out of this man's life he's spending recovering from the effects of drinking. That's a lot of time spent. The fourth side effect, wanting to drink so badly, you can't think of anything else. And it's also called a craving. When drinking becomes something that you have to have, and it's consumed your thoughts, and you can't be comfortable without it, that would be a time to look at speaking to a professional as well. The fifth sign or symptom, you found that drinking or being sick from drinking often interfered with your work, your family, or your education and school duties. So what does that look like? If you have to not go somewhere because you've consumed alcohol, meaning you don't want to risk a driving while impaired, a DWI offense, then you're sacrificing a responsibility with family because you're impaired and you can't go pick your kids up from school or take them to sports practice or even go out to visit a family member or friend because you've consumed too much. At that point, you're sacrificing. Work. A lot of times people miss this one, and as an assessor, we catch it a lot. If you're habitually late to work because you're hungover or trying to deal with the effects of alcohol, at that point, work is now suffering. Same with school. So when your responsibilities go to the wayside due to either recovering or consuming, that is another sign or symptom. The sixth sign or symptom, continue to drink alcohol even though it has caused trouble with your family or friends. So as a licensed marriage and family therapist, I specialize in working with couples. And when I have a couple come in, they talk about usually a fight or argument or a history or pattern of behavior that's conflictual. Without failure, a lot of couples will write off the fact that alcohol was involved. And there was a song that came out a long time ago called Blame It on the Alcohol. I think it was a Jamie Foxx song. Alcohol isn't a valid excuse to cuss your partner out. Alcohol is not a valid excuse to be disrespectful or hurtful. So somewhere along the culture, it's been acceptable that alcohol can be that blank check that we write. Oh, you were drunk. No problem. Oh, we'll forget about the behavior because you were drunk. Alcohol doesn't give you a pass to hurt people. It doesn't give you a pass to be disrespectful and be harmful. So if you have a partner that says to you, hey, your alcohol use is starting to be a problem, and you ignore that, dialogue or you ignore that request to get help, that's a sign or symptom you also want to look at. Number 7, giving up or cutting back on activities that were important, interesting, or pleasurable so you could consume alcohol or recover from alcohol. A lot of times I'll hear clients, as I'm doing the assessment, talk about how they used to love working out. They used to love going to the gym. They used to love riding their bike. They used to love playing soccer or basketball. And I'll ask them, well, what happened? And they'll go, I don't know. But then when I start to track and align their drinking behaviors, you then see they've given that up. One couple I was working with, I'll never forget this story. They used to go on vacations with other couples, but they would never enjoy the vacation because they spend all the time in the room either drinking or recovering from being drunk. So they go on these exotic vacations but never got to enjoy any of the events because they're in the room drunk or recovering from being drunk. So a lot of activities they would have enjoyed, they've given up because of alcohol. Sign or symptom number 8. That's going to be more than once you put yourself in a situation while or after drinking that increased your chances of getting hurt. So what are some of those situations? First and foremost, driving a motor vehicle. As a DWI assessor, a lot of clients come in to our office because they were consuming large amounts of alcohol, not with malicious or malice intent. It may have been just leaving the work party, the Christmas party, dinner with friends, a football game, a sporting event, but they were in a position based on their blood alcohol level that could be harmful to themselves or others around them. It's a public safety matter at that point. I don't want a person to be on the roadways impaired and they harm you, your family, or my family, or themselves. And consuming alcohol, then driving, puts a person in that position. Another behavior that can be harmful after a while consuming alcohol is dealing with heavy machinery or any type of work that requires tools or utensils that can be harmful. Something as simple as cooking dinner with a sharp knife, or something like a job where you're stocking shelves or using a pallet jack or something that is going to cause bodily harm. And the reason why this is so critical is because alcohol lowers your inhibitions. Alcohol alters your decision making. It impacts your reflexes, your judgment. And as a couples counselor, I'll work with individuals that may be dating or pursuing relationships and want counsel in terms of laying out a platform for transitioning a relationship. And I'll have a male or female partner come in and they'll talk about how they participated in unprotected sex or they were promiscuous. And a lot of the times alcohol was the prerequisite or the setup for them to engage in those irresponsible, unsafe sexual practices. So that's critical to look at in terms of safety. Even emotionally, when you think about the sex piece as well, with a client that I had earlier in my career, it was a couple, and they were in a bad place and they had to use alcohol in order to be physical. So there was a reliance and a dependency on alcohol just to be intimate, just to touch each other. And it created a toxic environment because before they got physical, they were violent. So alcohol really was the third wheel in the relationship. And it created a lot of harm emotionally and physically. So be careful with the fact that alcohol can put you in a position to harm yourself and others after consuming or while consuming. Symptom and sign number 9. You continue to drink alcohol even though it was making you feel depressed, anxious, or adding other health problems. Alcohol is a depressant. Some people think it's a stimulant because when you consume, it might increase a jolt of energy or activity or desire to want to be active. But overall, what alcohol does is it suppresses your central nervous system. So if you already have anxiety or depression or mood disorders, alcohol is not going to help you. It's only going to make it worse. So be careful when you consume alcohol and you're attempting to cope with alcohol to make you feel better. Initially, it might produce a euphoric feeling, but over time, it's going to be, worse for you. I think of it like a timeline. If your baseline is 0 and the maximum capacity that you're able to get to is 10, alcohol may put you at 15, which is past your natural ability of euphoria, right? So if you're at 15 and the alcohol wears off, you don't go to 0. You go to -5. So then you drink alcohol again just to get to 10, but you don't go back to -5, you go to -10. So every time you consume, you're going to go up, but the higher you go up, the harder you fall back down. So you get into this cycle to where at some point the client is just drinking alcohol just to feel normal. The next sign or symptom. We're on number 10 right now. So number 10, you had to drink way much more alcohol than you once did in order to feel the effects. Or you found out that the usual number of alcoholic beverages didn't have the same effect it once did. So that is what we call tolerance. Tolerance is something that can happen 2 ways. You can be born with high tolerance just based on genetics. And to give you an example, what that would look like, let's say we took 3 people that consumed alcohol for the first time. Person 1 consumes 1/3 of a beer and goes, whoa, I'm feeling it. Person 2 consumes half the beer and he goes, yeah, I'm feeling it. Person 3 consumes the entire beer and goes, hey guys, I don't feel anything. That is an example of having a high tolerance just through your genetic composition, because once again, all 3 of these people had alcohol for the first time and had different effects. So tolerance doesn't mean you just drink a lot. However, you can increase your tolerance by the amounts of consumption. So if you find yourself in a position where you can consume 3 Long Island iced teas, 5 beers, and you wave it as a badge of honor, like, hey, I don't feel anything, I'm good. That means you actually are at a higher risk for having a problem. So don't go on what you feel. You want to go on what your blood alcohol level is. And as a DWI assessor, I'm in a position where I'll have clients blow 0.16. Mind you, the legal limit is 0.08. Anything over 0.08 or 0.08 or higher is usually going to be marked out as a DWI. So at 0.16, you're well past 0.08, and these clients will come in and say, I don't feel anything. I actually had a client, he was at a 0.22 and felt nothing. He actually passed the field sobriety test. So that is a symptom or a sign of a high tolerance. Okay. Number 11, our last sign and symptom. You found that when the effects of alcohol were wearing off, you had withdrawal symptoms. So what are withdrawal symptoms? Withdrawal symptoms can be as severe as something like a seizure or a heart attack or racing heartbeat, or it could be something as mild as irritability, the lack to be able to go to sleep, or some nausea or sweating. So the withdrawal can be lethal. That's why a lot of clients that come to services that we offer who have a history of daily consumption at large amounts, I can't just tell that person to stop drinking right then and there because they could potentially die. So those cases are referred to a detox center where they can be monitored and their body can self-regulate with the assistance of medical attention. So if there were to be seizures or changes in blood pressure, heart rate, the provider can disseminate medication to help slow that process down as their body gets rid of the alcohol. So in this video, I went over the 11 signs and symptoms to be aware of. And for clarity, a substance abuse professional will look at these 11 signs and symptoms by way of both using a screening tool and what we call a clinical interview. So the screening tools are designed just to give you an overview of yes/no questions and Then the clinical interview is to look at all stages of your life. So that can include, how often you consume, family, occupation, any prior substance use history, education. So the clinician will take a systemic approach or a world view of who you are. And through that interview, we're looking to see if these 11 signs and symptoms are present. If these signs or symptoms present themselves within a 12-month period, at that point, we're not counting how many were presented. Anything over 2 is a diagnosis. So 2 to 3 is going to be mild. 4 to 5 is moderate. And 6 or more of these is going to be a severe diagnosis. So hope this video was helpful in giving you guys some opportunities to hear and learn about what diagnosing a substance use disorder looks like. And once again, this is an important disclaimer. Don't take this video and try to be your own substance abuse counselor. You want to take this information as a reference point and then go get help from a professional. If you're not licensed or certified, you don't have the authority to diagnose for substance use disorders. So make sure you get the referrals that you need to go to a professional. You can get those referrals from your primary care physician. You can do a Google search. And I hope this video serves you well. It's been a pleasure. My name is Chris Matthews, your relationship coach and licensed marriage and family therapist. You can also check this channel out and subscribe for more videos. Feel free to look at our website, relationshipcounselingtools.com. We have a maintaining safety workbook, and we have a lot of material that talks about keeping partners safe and keeping you safe. So once again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side.
You can never go back. I gotta take it all.